Yo, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Kitty G, and I'm back again with another video. And today we're going to be talking about Granit Xhaka. Yes, we're going to be talking about Granit Xhaka, the man who is one of the most divisive players in the Arsenal squad and has been over the past couple of seasons, in addition to one of the most integral pieces in the club. And you know what? In my opinion, it's undeniable how integral he is to this team. But a lot of people, oh, what's going on?
Egal, we can't hear you, buddy. There's no volume.
You can't hear me?
No, I tried to tell you in the chat. No, we missed that. We missed that intro. But I think it was something
whole
along
thing.
the lines of Granit. Yeah, something along the lines of Granit Xhaka is amazing.
Oh man.
XYZ.
All right, guys.
Start
This is
again.
what happens.
Start again.
This is what happens sometimes. Anyways, can you hear me now though?
Loud and clear, buddy. Loud and clear.
All right, yo, people on Twitter, come join us on YouTube on the Kitty G's channel. That's my channel. I got Harry with me. I got Devil Details. We're gonna be going through some stuff, and let's get started. Bang. Okay, so since I messed up the intro earlier, I'm just going to say it again. Granit Xhaka has now become one of Arsenal's most integral players, in my opinion, and he still is highly divisive within the Arsenal fan base. So we're going to be discussing this, and we're going to be getting into everything: the Switzerland midfielder and this Arsenal midfielder, how he is integral to our team and every team that he's been played with when it comes to Emery, Arteta, and Arsenal. Yeah, let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. Bang. Yo, big up to you guys. Big up to everybody in the chat. We guys saying we got Daniel here with us. I brought Daniel here because as a neutral, as somebody who does not support Arsenal, he looks at this from an outside point of view. He looks at this as an unbiased fan. And you know what? He has a lot of stuff to the table. He's brought a lot of stuff to the table. And we got Harry with me here. Harry, I know you guys know Harry on socials. He's always pulling on the Granit Xhaka side of things. There's a lot of people give him stick for no apparent reason at times because he'll have a 7 out of 10 performance. He'll get a 4 in the ratings, where the same 7 out of 10 performance from another player will be given an 8. So yeah, let's get started, guys. Harry, how you doing?
Yeah, good man. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to watching Granit Xhaka. Looking forward to talking about Granit Xhaka. Enjoyed his open mic video that Arsenal released earlier, and it seems there might be this campaign developing to give Granit Xhaka almost a new start or a new way of analysing him. So I look forward to discussing it with you guys.
Yeah, and Daniel, Devil Details, your YouTube channel. Tell the people where they can catch you and what you do on your channel.
Right there. If I can get get me on Twitter. Let me come over a little bit more. Right there. Follow me on Twitter. Link to my YouTube's there.
Okay, so everyone on my YouTube channel, EGTV, and everyone on Facebook, we're going to be talking about Granit Xhaka. And first, I'm going to just throw it over to you, Daniel. You got this on the screen. What does this explain to the people? What we have in front of us right now?
Can you see it clearly? Do I need to?
Yeah, you can see it clearly. You can make it full screen if you like.
Even now, can you see it clearly?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Further, is that perfect? Can you see it, Harry?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so what I like to do you know what it is? So the thing with Xhaka for me, right? Obviously, I'm not an Arsenal fan. I don't watch every single game. But when I hear Arsenal lose and they moan about him, say how crap he is, he can't pass, he can't do that. And then I watch an Arsenal game, I'm like, this guy's not that bad. I've never understood why he's hated so much. I don't get it. Like, he's a
Can
good
we address
football
that
player.
first? I think the main reason why he's hated or disliked is because of that stat that they constantly throw at us, that he has the most errors leading to a goal from any other Premier League outfield player
Okay,
in his time
you know
here.
what? It's good you mentioned that, because I found an article very, very quickly. Because this is what I found strange. I remember, I remember one time DT was going on in De Gea and talking about Leno being the best goalkeeper. And what I found strange was I remember watching like the Premier League show afterwards, and I saw Leno in the list for errors, like for goalkeepers. Like, he was like second or third to De Gea, and the difference between them was like one error. So for you two Arsenal fans, I'd ask you, why is it Leno was in good standing? I don't know how Arsenal fans feel about him now, but generally he's been in good standing, even though he's made error to goals.
Kesh
He's made
is
a
in
lot
the
of
house
errors.
too, guys.
Oh, Kesh is
Yeah,
here.
I mean,
Hey, Kesh.
I find the whole error thing a little bit confusing, because I get it in terms of, you know, it's a fact, but just because someone gives away the ball, you know, it's not always in a terrible situation, but sometimes it may lead to a goal. But we're not talking about, you know, the Burnley error, which is obviously a Granit Xhaka error. We're not talking about those sort of errors. If it was 8 of those, I would totally get it, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, there was one from, I think, a West Ham goal was when he cleared the ball and it went to maybe Declan Rice or something like that. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, yeah. So by conclusion, that's an error because he's the last Arsenal player to have the ball. But sometimes, you know, we just hone in on the stat. And to be honest, I don't think anyone was aware of that stat until it became the 8th goal, and then everyone started using that. Oh, it's 8 goals, but I bet a lot of people couldn't even tell me what errors it was that led to goals, because none of them are that noticeable, apart from Burnley and a few others.
Let me ask Egal and Kesh something, right? So this is an article from 90 Minute Football. The 11 players with the most errors leading to goals in the last 5 Premier League seasons. Obviously, Xhaka's been. How long has Leno been at Arsenal?
3 seasons.
3
Yeah,
seasons.
2, 3
So
years.
he's only been at Arsenal 3 seasons, right? So my question to Arsenal fans, just as a neutral, would be: Leno's been there. He hasn't been at Arsenal as long as Xhaka. He's got 7. He's 1 behind him. So how come he's in good standing with your fans, but Xhaka isn't when it comes to this particular error leading to goals?
Kesh, go ahead.
I think a lot of Arsenal fans, they're selective bullies. That's what I call them. Selective bullies. They pick and choose who they like and the ones that deserve criticism. For me, I'll call it as is. Xhaka, the likes of Xhaka, the likes of Bellerin, the likes of Leno. I've been saying Leno was a poor keeper since his first season, end of his first season. So it's nothing new. It's customary to what I've seen from it. And even though it might say he's conceded 7 goals from his own fault, there's been many more occasions where I've seen it from just watching him. It might not have gone down as a stat, but things that he's done that's led to a dangerous attack. Maybe the team hasn't punished us, and that's why it's not gone down as an actual stat. But there's loads of times where he just does poor things.
Can I say why? Can I say why fans will never forgive him? Because of the Crystal Palace game, when he told the fans to go do one, because he felt like he had a lot of problems going on that time. But let's not swear, guys, because we're also on Facebook.
Yeah, but as a neutral, the contempt for him was it was set in long before he done that.
Way before
so
he
now
done that.
his haters can use that as an excuse. I see this in tennis. There are people that hated Serena Williams, and then a few years ago when she had the incident with the umpire, they go to that because they can go to that instead of talking about her chunky body. That's what they do now. But you hated her before she got into it with the umpire. That's what I see. It's like now you have something. That thing happened against Palace, so now you can focus in on that. But let's tell the truth. There are people that hated Xhaka long before that incident happened. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. And Kesh is right. It's a selective bullying, and like most bullies, you know, you can only give it. So Granit Xhaka taking off his shirt was almost giving it back, and a lot of our fans didn't like that. So that's one reason why it's so divisive. But as you said, it happened, you know, long way before that, and that probably just comes from the midfielders that we were used to seeing. I spoke about this before, but after Cesc, it was very much these small 5'5" to 5'10" 10 midfielders who are good on the ball, even the likes of Coquelin, then you go to Jack, Santi Cazorla, Alex Song, all really good technical players. I know Alex Song wasn't fast, but he could get about a little bit more than a Granit Xhaka. And then we went to Granit Xhaka, who was very much stay in one place, pass predominantly, sideward forwards, but it wasn't, incredibly progressive all the time.
Okay.
And people got hung up on that. But as now we've seen, we're now relying on Granit Xhaka to make us tick. So is that a good or bad thing? It is a separate question. But
just before we go any further, they're going to say, before we go any further, they're going to say, you know what, we're being too positive. We're not actually laying out all the negatives. So let's just lay out all the negatives, okay? People keep talking about most errors leading to goals. We've already mentioned that. People talk about the situation that happened in Crystal Palace. We've already mentioned that. People talk about Granit Xhaka being slow when he's turning with the ball, and he loses the ball quite easily when pressured. So we've mentioned that. They're going to mention the Burnley goal because it's the most relevant area that you can mention most recently. But if you look at that goal, it wasn't the reason. It wasn't playing at the back. He took an extra touch, which was his fault. We know that was his error. People make mistakes. We're going to understand that, and we're going to try to move past that. As individuals here, we understand that players make mistakes. Let's move past it. He makes too many mistakes at times, which people do not like. And if somebody was here that says they don't like Granit Xhaka, their first argument would be, you know what, you have to look at those things. But I don't want to go over that too long. We're going to be here all day. We're going to every positive. If we could probably name a negative also, but let's just look at the situation with a blank slate and try to look at what he's good at for a second. Okay. So we're going to
share my screen just because Harry mentioned something about
Daniel,
his contribution to the way that you play. So, I'll make this full screen just so. Can you guys see the information? That's what I'm wondering if you can see the information or not.
Yeah.
So, this is a data analytics site called Soccerment. You would have seen it on Twitter. The Athletic use it. They also use Smart Scout as well. So I've compared him to Declan Rice because Declan Rice, by the way, I want him at Man United because he's better than Frederick McTominay. I think he's a good player. I feel like he's in good standing with Premier League football fans. I think most people now recognize he's actually a really, really good player. And what they had, all of these type of websites had their own metrics for determining how players contribute to their team. And when you look at the comparison here, so defensively, Rice contributes more than Xhaka according to their metrics, right? But then there's a significant gap between the build-up play, which speaks to Harry's point. Like, for someone who's a deep playing player, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You can't really, I don't know, this is just objective. Some people hate stats because stats, I don't know, sometimes go against their bias, but ultimately, stats are objective. And I'm just going to come out of this and go into, this is a completely different website now. So that was Soccermet. This is Smarter Scout. This is a scouting, this is basically an output measurement between Declan Rice. Declan Rice is at the top, Xhaka is at the bottom. So attacking output, Rice is clear. But in terms of the defensive quantity to their team, it's equal. Ball retention, Xhaka is clear of him. You can see all the data here. Disruptions, he's more of a disruptor than him. Recovering the ball, just when you compare him to Declan Rice, the difference between them in key areas is not significant. When I think about what the Arsenal team need as well, I don't think Xhaka is your biggest problem. I'm just going to go to something else very, very quickly. Give me a second.
That's a key point. Just why Dan finds that is like Granit Xhaka, from my perspective, isn't the one that we should be going out to definitely replace. I agree. We definitely need to go out and get competition. And if we can find an upgrade in someone like Basuma, then brilliant, all for it. But we're not struggling this season because of Granit Xhaka. We're struggling this season because Aubameyang and Lacazette haven't been able to score consistently, and Pepe and Saka's numbers aren't up there. That's fact. But I know Granit Xhaka has annoyed us in the past. But yeah, to almost pinpoint it on Granit Xhaka and make everything about Granit Xhaka, and even looking at the comments now, what does he bring? Xhaka's a mess or Xhaka's shit. It's like, listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Kesh, just before you go, can I just show you guys? I feel like if we're fully, we don't have a fully fit team, but if we had David Luiz back and Odegaard still missing, going into the next tie, I feel like this would be our best 11 for me, just personally. And looking at this team, I'm saying to myself, we're expecting our attack to be led by Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Saka. when we have a midfield of Thomas Partey and Xhaka, and we're criticizing Thomas Partey and Xhaka the most. It makes sense. It makes sense why these guys are getting scapegoated, because in front of them they only have one senior in the attack.
But do you know what it is though? In a 4-2-3-1 system, the two players there, they're there to provide balance and to be efficient. And if you're concerned that, I think it's fair to say Xhaka, he's not agile, he's not quick, can be positionally caught out, but Partey doesn't have those weaknesses. And on the ball, the difference between them, I've seen Arsenal fans getting gassed about Partey's passing, and I'm like, Xhaka's passing is pretty much on the same level. There's not a great deal of difference between the two. Partey displays better technical ability before making the pass, but if you're looking at their efficiency, I can get into that in a second.
Dan, can you say something on that?
Great deal of difference. So go on, Kesh.
I do get what you're saying. There's not a great deal of difference. The only
Kesh,
thing.
can I just address one person in the comments? Right, Souček doesn't play. He's not. He plays further forward. He plays further forward. Gunnar Express. That's why I wouldn't do that comparison. He plays further forward. Why would I compare Xhaka to a player who gets into the box and scores goals? It doesn't make any sense. Sorry, to cut you off. I just kept seeing that guy going off, and I was like, come on.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. If you check the position that Souček and Xhaka takes up, they're totally different positions in the game. In terms of Xhaka and Partey, I do feel the only difference between Xhaka is he tends to not. He does look forward, but he doesn't do it in the sort of way where he's going to feed you through. Like, you know what you're going to get with Bruno. Bruno's going to look up and he's going to find the strikers that's making the runs. And I think if Xhaka can put more of that in his game, he will be a much better player, where I feel the players would appreciate him more. Like, if you look at the goal we scored against Silva Prague, that was a great pass. That's what you want from your midfielder. Feed it through the lines, and that's how you can be dangerous. But before that, there was 20 minutes before that where he had a great opportunity to do the exact same thing, and he didn't do it. He played it to Bellerin as a side pass when the more dangerous pass was going forward. And that's why I feel a lot of fans look at him and sometimes think, come on, Xhaka, like, just feed the player, just feed him. And, you know, we can be a lot more dangerous if we do that more often.
Yeah, I think a bit of that from Xhaka is probably risk over reward, and that's probably where he mentally probably questions himself too much, and he thinks, if I play this forward pass and it doesn't make it, maybe I'm better off going, because in that instance he's probably thought, if I go to Bellerin now, then Bellerin can then play it to Xhaka. But you're totally right. I think Dan makes a good point about he looks better on Thomas Partey, and I think that's really key, because let's make no mistake, there's things that Thomas Partey can do that Granit Xhaka wouldn't be able to do. So that assist for Lacazette's third goal. Granit Xhaka, you wouldn't see Granit Xhaka do that. I haven't seen an Arsenal central midfielder do that in a long time, where someone gets it, turns, and then plays a through ball. Honestly, I feel like it's been years since I've seen
Thomas Partey did that yesterday, the other game. That was amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I haven't seen an Arsenal central midfielder do that. So there's no doubt that Partey, can do certain things that Xhaka can't do. But what's interesting is that we've become so fixated on analysing players, or what's kinder to the eye. And I think it's sometimes a little bit fickle in terms of how you analyse a player, because I know Granit Xhaka doesn't have a trick, or I know he's not fast, but sometimes that just disguises, a good player. For example, Coquelin could get about the pitch a lot more. He had a little bit more tenacity and energy about him. He would control the ball in his studs, lots of stud rolls. But Xhaka is superior to a Coquelin in terms of the importance to a team and the technical ability and consistency. So sometimes it's like, we see a bit of a slow player who isn't maybe like a midfield beast, and we go, he's slow. He's slow as shit. It's like, well, all right, he's a little bit slow. Michael Carrick wasn't a spring chicken. Michael Carrick played the game walking pace. Michael Carrick was,
by the way,
can I ask you a question, Daniel?
By the way, Michael Carrick, sorry, Egal. Michael Carrick, he's immortalized now, but trust me, it took a while for Man United to truly give him his respect. Trust me.
Let me ask you a question.
He was an interceptor, right? Michael Carrick was an interceptor. He did tackle, but it was very much in the right place, the right time. He played the game quite slow, but really good forward passes, moved the ball really, really well, and dictated from deep. I'm not for 1 second comparing Xhaka to a Matic or to a Carrick, but let's not pretend that you have to be fast or incredibly agile to play that role. You can be agile, which certainly helps you do that role well, like a Basuma or a Kante, but you can also play it a different way. And Granit Xhaka plays it a different way. It might be a little bit less pleasing to the eye, and it doesn't take away from his technical deficiencies, but he can still do the role well.
Let me ask you a question, guys. I get Declan Rice. I get the Declan Rice comparison, Daniel. But let's do a comparison to a player that Arsenal fans say we should be getting to replace Granit Xhaka. There's links to Bissouma. There's links to Sander Bergs. Who is the Granit Xhaka replacement, guys, that realistically we could sign that everyone says we should go get?
Harry, go first on that.
Harry?
Kesh, go on, mate. No, go to Kesh. Otherwise, I'll chew everyone's ear off.
Obviously, ideally, you know what I feel about Bissouma. I think he'll be a great player to come in and partay in the long run, but I'm fearful of that combination because when it comes to, say, for instance, the African Cup of Nations or something like that, if those two players are your core of your midfield, if you end up losing both of them for the period of 1 month, 2 months, whatever, how long the tournament is, you're going to find yourself in trouble. Who are you then going to replace? Like, Arsenal ain't a team like Man City who's going to have an abundance of midfielders. They're going to have 4-star midfielders who are going to come in and replace them. So I think you have to be wary of something like that. There's other options out there. Someone just mentioned Cooper Miners or whatever his name is. Ideally, Arteta is going to want a left-footed midfielder in there. He likes his balance. How many good left-footed midfielders are there out there right now that you can just go and pick? That's the problem.
Like,
Someone like
Rabiot
would be class,
probably.
I don't think you necessarily need a left-sided midfielder because Partey's he's decent technically. Right-sided midfielders on the left side of a midfield if they can create angles for passes, it's fine. I don't think that's a necessity that you get a left-sided midfielder. At United, we have the same thing when people say we definitely need a left-sided centre back. It's like it'd be ideal, but if you can't find one, Harry Maguire is not as bad as you make out playing out from the back. But if you want to move him to the right, just get a more athletic, someone who moves the ball quicker. Get that player who can play on the left side of the defense. There are right footers that play there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
what I'm going to do now, Gal, since you didn't tell me beforehand, Bissouma, I can either go to the comparisons that I have, where I've compared him to like Højbjerg. I've put Fred in there. Obviously, Partey's in there, and who else did I have in there? It's completely escaped me who else I had in there. I had
go to the Partey comparison because the Declan Rice comparison, I don't think a lot of people are going to... Some people don't rate Declan Rice. Some people rate him. But at the end of the day, if you compare players to these guys want to replace Granit Xhaka and you show them Xhaka's superior to the players that they think is going to replace Granit Xhaka, then they're wrong.
Okay.
I think just going through the comments now quickly while Dan finds that, like the whole like Xhaka is trash thing. Listen, I totally get that, but we can all agree that without Granit Xhaka as a team, we do not function well. Now, if that's us being one-dimensional, if that's having a poor manager, then fair. But regardless of what you think of him, you can't underestimate the importance of him and how crucial he is to us functioning. So does that mean we're accepting mediocrity? Does that mean like, oh, how bad are Arsenal now when Xhaka becomes whatever? Then yeah, maybe so, but that's where we are. So at the minute, when you've got a player who is really important to your team, you can just give it a thumbs up and say, yeah, you know, he's doing all right.
So I have a question for you guys and the audience. Don't share my screen yet because we will reveal it, right? We'll reveal it. Let's confirm some biases. I'll start with
Tesh, could you mute your mic when you're not speaking? It's just, I'm getting background. Thanks.
Got a playground in his garden. That's what it sounds like.
No, he just got the TV on.
You
I
guys
think in the
had to
background.
guess. So between Partey, Declan Rice, Højbjerg, Fred, and Granit Xhaka, where do you think Xhaka would rate in terms of defensive dual success rate?
I think defensive dual success rate. I think he'd be near the bottom.
I think second behind Højbjerg.
Cash?
I think he'll be first.
Okay, let's ask the people in the comments. What do you guys say?
People in the comments.
I honestly think a lot of people would say his defensive duels are not the best part of his game. Why do you guys think he would be first or second? Someone says third for me.
In fact, let's not even. I won't show the screen because I
think this
it's
season
a boring Excel document I have, so let's not share it. I'll tell you what it is. What people saying in the comments.
I feel like
Who's
he's won a lot
ignoring
more
you?
tackles
What are
this
you
year than he
talking about?
usually
Who's
has.
ignoring you?
I feel like I've seen him make a lot more tackles than he usually does this season.
This season he's definitely made a lot more recoveries and
I'm
challenges.
looking in the comments.
A few of them have been from his own mistakes, right? I remember he's made a few dodgy passes and he's got back.
Bring back 4-4-2, you know. bro.
But this is just all defensive duels, all of them combined.
Yeah,
He's actually last. He's last at just over 50%. So in defensive duels overall, he's about 50-50. Fred's just ahead of him with 54%, but Højbjerg, Rice, and Party's top of the list at 66%. Then it's Rice at 64%. Then it's actually Højbjerg at 61%. So that tells you those guys are just the level above in terms of defensive duels overall.
Yeah.
Aerial duels, he doesn't fare much better. He is fourth. So Højbjerg's at 57%. Party and Rice are equal at 61. Obviously, Fred's the shortest, so naturally he's bottom there. But let me ask you guys, in terms of interceptions, right? No, God, don't share it. It's boring. I'll just tell you guys. So Y-Scout have something that's called possession adjusted. So when you show a stat and people say it's because they play in that team and their style of football, so you can't compare the stats. Well, Y-Scout have a formula to account for possession. So if one team has 80%, the other team has 20%, they have a formula to discount the amount of possession that a team has had, right? To determine who's actually an efficient interceptor. So again, between Party, Rice, Højbjerg, and Fred, and Granit Xhaka, where do you think Xhaka ranks amongst these guys for interceptions?
I think Xhaka is pretty high in interceptions for the Arsenal team. I think he's first. Is he not?
I don't know where he is for Arsenal, but I just want to know where you guys think compared to these players. We all watch Premier League football. Where do you think? Do you think he intercepts at a better rate?
He plays the most minutes out of all those players.
No,
can you name the players again?
Again, the minutes don't matter. The possession and styles of the team do not matter.
I'll say
Scout have accounted for. It's just about who make the most interceptions. Who's the most efficient at doing this?
I'll say third.
Yeah,
I'll say first for this.
I'd say second or third.
All right, well, you're right. He's third. He's third at just over 5.5 a game. Fred and Party are obviously higher than him. Everyone knows Fred's actually one good thing that Fred does that well. He intercepts really well.
He gets about though, innit?
So Party,
he's got the legs.
What I'm seeing here is defensively, our eyes are telling us what we know to be true about Party. He's bloody efficient. Defensive duels, interceptions, this guy's compared to these players at least, he's top.
Granit Xhaka is not a DM. Granit Xhaka is not a DM.
No, but I'm
no, not you, Dan. I'm just the comment.
But these guys play in double pivots, so it's a bit. You know what I mean? All these he doesn't play as a single pivot. The Guna Express really doesn't like Xhaka, does he? Really
no, he doesn't.
Right. Next question, boys. Accurate forward passes. What have you got? Where have you got Xhaka ranking?
So yeah,
I feel like
he's definitely out there. He's definitely out there. I'm gonna say second.
Yeah.
Which one? Can you repeat that again?
Accurate forward
passes.
Oh, he's high. He's probably the top.
Yeah, I'd say first or second.
First or second. You guys are right. He's actually in second place. Declan Rice is the most efficient at 83%. Xhaka is just behind him at 82%. Højbjerg at 80%. Fred just below that at 78%. And Partey is actually last. He's the least efficient when it comes to forward passes.
Because he gambles.
These players, 76%. So that's actually an interesting difference between him.
That's accurate, right? Not attempted, right?
No, that's accurate. And the reason why I like accurate is over the course of the season, it doesn't matter how many you attempt. Over 40 games, your efficiency is your efficiency at something. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. Style of football don't matter. That's why I don't get
do you know what it is? Because I reckon some Arsenal fans might conclude of that when he plays one forward pass every 10 matches and he makes it. That's why I was asking. Because I'm pretty sure he's up there with attempted.
Can I just answer that?
Yeah.
Xhaka for me is a deep line playmaker. Yes. Yeah. We bought him as a DM, but he's not a DM. Come on, man. Let's be serious. A DM is someone who can get about, who can mark spaces efficiently, and Xhaka hasn't got the legs to do all of that.
That's fair.
Okay. And then
and also, how many DMs would you say there are in the Premier League? Like actual DMs? Because
only the ones that play in. I think Rice is actually a DM. He just doesn't play in a single pivot. That's the problem now. Is because everybody's so obsessed with these systems. Or usually when a player has a particular athletic profile type, we say that guy's a DM.
Yeah, but when I look at Rice, I think like DM, but so much more to his game. But if he, if he was to stay there, he could be a DM. I look at Højbjerg and I say, you're pretty much a DM. Like. You're in and about there, ruffling feathers.
But you know what gets tricky? I can't compare Xhaka to Kovacic
Yeah,
Wouldn't make sense.
would it make sense?
No.
That's why I threw Fred in there, because Fred's not really an attacking midfielder. He's box to box, but doesn't always go box to box. He plays deep. He's a deep playing player
Yeah.
for the most part.
Would you
So
compare
even
Kovacic
though
to Pate?
no, I wouldn't. That's why when the guy said shoot check, I'm like, you can't compare someone who sits to someone who's always getting in the box. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but what I meant by that question was like Man United, they may play with like McTominay, Fred, and maybe Fernandes. McTominay isn't necessarily a DM. He might be deeper out of the three, but that doesn't mean you're a DM. It just means that your task is to sit deeper.
But because he plays there, you have to compare him to other players that play there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd probably say that Xhaka it would be a comparison for maybe someone like Jorginho, similar roles in the team to keep things ticking.
If I do a Jorginho comparison, he's clear.
See that, yeah.
Tell you, passing once, he's clear.
The thing is, the reason it's complicated. I know because they play in a double pivot, you think yes, you can compare Ndidi to Xhaka, but Ndidi doesn't get on the ball as much as Xhaka. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
And he plays in a single pivot a lot, not all the time because Rodgers switched to a 3-4-3.
What about Kimmich?
When they play 4-3-3, he's in the pivot.
Kimmich is not a DM. He's not a DM.
Yeah.
And he goes box to box. When he was playing with Thiago last season, Kimmich would go forward and Thiago would sit.
Yeah, it's so hard. We become a little bit fixated by this like DM kind of role. I don't think there are that many DMs about, and sometimes by nature,
interesting.
If they're just a DM, it's
1 second. I want to ask you something, Danny, before we move on. Yeah. In the Arsenal team, where does he rank for passes, for passing percentage, passing accuracy, most passes, all those things? He's probably top of the list for each one.
Dude, you're gonna have to go and I'm gonna have to go and look for that. You didn't tell me before.
No, and then when it comes to, I know for the Premier League, I've looked at it on Y-Scout before. He's up there with the best in the world when it comes to statistically his passing percentage. He's an
efficient player. People who say Xhaka can't pass, I'm sorry, he can pass. He may not make the passes. See, Kesh added context, and this is why when people throw stats out, just throw it out like with the bathwater. You don't do that. So when I say to Kesh, so for example, if I was to say, I'll tell you guys the answer straight away. Let me just do this. When it comes to accurate through passes, right? So Xhaka ranks, I think he's second. Let me just scroll across. Give me a second. He's third, right? With accurate through passes. He's third. Him and Partey are at exact same level when it comes to accurate through passes. When they attempt a through pass, they're both just as efficient. But Kesh can provide context and say Xhaka doesn't do it enough. So you don't just poo-poo the stat because you say Xhaka's crap and can't pass. You add context to it. And Kesh said that before, where he said Arsenal fans get frustrated when he can make that pass between the lines and he plays it a bit safe to recycle the ball and he passes it sideways. You bring the two together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just more about dispelling the notion that he's absolutely useless. Personally, I like him and I rate him highly. But I do believe we can get an upgrade, and I think it would be an area that we need to look into. I don't think though it's a huge priority. Certainly after defeats, I would feel like it would be more of a priority. But I think it's just about trying to encourage people to maybe forget about the past and his red card record, which isn't even that bad in the Premier League, and the stats, and just say, well, you know, how important is he to our team? Very. And when we analyse a player, we forget about a lot of things. One is availability. One is the manager's thoughts. You know, how important is he to a manager? One is their role on the pitch as a teammate, their role behind the scenes. It might not be important to Arsenal fans, but they're all things that play a huge role into why squads become, you know, title-winning squads, because you have the right balance of everything. And as we've seen with that open mic, he's clearly one of the leaders in that team. And he has the respect from everyone in that team. And when he scored that free kick against Chelsea, the way everyone ran over to him was almost like a, yes, you deserve that. Because his teammates respect him. All the managers respect him. His international manager respects him. So as Arsenal fans, why can't we do the same and just respect him?
Yeah.
Is it? What I would say is I've been a huge critique of Xhaka ever since he's come in. I think the final straw I had with Xhaka was when he made that tackle against Swansea and he got sent off. I just thought, this guy, he can't cover spaces, and this is a Premier League. The game plays at such a quick tempo. He's always going to struggle with it. and you see it game by game. Maybe not necessarily throughout the 90 minutes, but you see occasions where he's been left for dead, and you just think there's going to be one point where it cost you, and it's up to the club to actually assess that and think, you know what, maybe we do need to upgrade on that position or whatever, or try and find a system where whether you're going to play an actual defensive player behind him or something, because when you do watch him play for the international team, he does play a lot more forward compared to the role that he's been asked to do at Arsenal. So I don't think it's necessarily his fault. I think sometimes we need to assess these things and think, yes, he might not be the player that we would ideally want, but it's not really our decision. I see someone tweeted earlier today that when with Arsenal fans realise that Xhaka's not good enough, and I agree to some extent, but then ideally the club needs to assess that. It's not down to the fans to change that.
But would it be so this summer? If you can sign 2 players, right, and they're world class, would Xhaka's position be the first position you address, or even the second?
It wouldn't be the first position I address. Definitely wouldn't be. No, I'll definitely get a centre mid in, but I'm not saying he's gonna come in and he's gonna totally push Xhaka to the side, because yes, we don't like him. I don't like him. I'm admitting it. But if you look at the results over the time he's been here, we tend to struggle when he's not in the team. Whether that's his leadership skills, because some people say that he's not a leader, he clearly is a leader. There's a reason why Wenger kept him in the team. There's a reason why Emery kept him in the team. There's a reason why Arteta is keeping him in the team. So we can't hide behind our emotions and our criticism that we've got for this player.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like just a Goon Express comment there about he's great, but he isn't good in terms of footballing ability. And it's like, but what does that mean for a fan? Does that mean tricks? Does that mean, like step overs in central midfield and doing a nutmeg and then playing a through ball? I think we just need to be aware of like what makes a good player and what makes a good player even more useful to a squad. And they're all the attributes that Kesh just mentioned before. I think it's really hard when we talk about who we need to replace him, because we're essentially asking for a defensive-minded midfielder who can get about the pitch, who can win tackles, who can win headers, but who can also play football. Sometimes by nature, a defensive midfielder like Højbjerg might be a little bit limited technically, and Højbjerg is certainly limited technically. He does the job, but when you watch him, it sometimes feels a little bit awkward. So what you're asking for is this $1 million player, a player which has got absolutely everything. And usually a player that has all of that ability doesn't become a DM. They usually play further up the pitch. And sometimes when you see someone like Kante and managers toying with him playing further up the pitch, it's because, he's so good, he's so useful in other areas, maybe just putting him DM limits him. And they face that conundrum. So we're asking for a player that ticks all of these boxes, and we expect them to come to us over any other club, and we expect us to be able to afford that player. So this is where I get a little bit confused by the notion. For what Coquelin had in legs and tenacity, he lacked in maybe game intelligence that Granit Xhaka has. For what Jack Wilshere gave you in passion and ability, he lacked in fitness and consistency. So there's all these comparisons that we can make, but Kesh is right. There's a certain sort of player that we could have next to him or instead of him, but tell me who that player is, other than Basuma, and how much they're going to cost us, or whether we can afford them.
No, but that's not the question. You know what the question is about the question is for the video. Has he become one of our more important players this season? Has he always been one of the more important players in every cog, in Unai Emery's team, in Arsenal's team, in even a couple of days when Freddie was here, he still played him. Every time we have missed him in a game, in a crucial game, fans say, Granit Xhaka's out the team. They celebrate until we lose. And then they still don't realize. And
Listen,
Do you know what it is, Egal? Do you know what it is,
a lot of the fans that have criticised Xhaka have also said, there's a lot of well-known Arsenal fans here who publicly, not here, but on the internet world, who publicly don't like Granit Xhaka. And when they're doing their predicted lineups, they're saying put El Neni in there. So that doesn't come from any other place apart from hate, because there's no way in a million years anyone could give a reason for starting El Neni above Granit Xhaka. Not to say El Neni's bad, but you just wouldn't do it, and you most cases wouldn't do it for Dani Ceballos. But when some fans become fixated on an agenda, then that's the narrative that they'll run. But on the list of priority or on the areas of concern, Arteta is towards the bottom of the list for any Arsenal manager because he's decent enough and he's great around the club and he's great for. He's a manager's dream.
You mean Granit Xhaka, not Arteta?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, sorry. Granit Xhaka is at the bottom, near the bottom of the list of an areas for concern for any manager. I'm convinced of that. Which is why, like Kesh said, he's played under Wenger, played under Emery, and Arteta did all he could to get him back in the fold.
This is for Kesh. Kesh, you're muted.
Yeah.
Would you build a team around Xhaka? Oh,
You hear
he
me?
muted himself. Yeah,
You hear me?
yeah.
Would I build a team around Xhaka? No, I wouldn't build a team around Xhaka.
Okay.
I mean, he's 33.
Harry?
So he's 33.
You know what I mean? I think. Can I just say something? Wait, 1 second. 1 second.
Xhaka, right? He's 33, right?
No,
No,
but I get what he means,
28.
though. I get what he means. He's
Egal.
saying
28.
build the
He's not
midfield
28.
around Xhaka and Partey.
No, he is.
Granit Xhaka's 28. Yeah,
Hold
man,
on, 1 second.
This is a great thing. We got years and years of Granit Xhaka.
One second.
Wow, my bad.
One second.
I thought he was way past it. Sorry.
1 second, yeah. You lot talk about Zachary in the comment, yeah. Green Express, you're saying he's not overrated, yeah. If you was watching Xhaka, Xhaka came from the same team that Zachary's at right now, yeah. Us fans were saying the same thing about Granit Xhaka back then, that he's good enough to come to this team. But now when I say Zachary's overrated, you're going beyond that. Listen, the German league, you can't look at these players. Like, if you watch the way they play with such eye lines, it's counter-attacking football all the time. I think the Premier League tests you in different ways that players could never imagine. And you hear so many players talk about it when they come to this league. This is why guys like Werner is struggling. Zachary is not that great player that you think he is. He's not.
I keep hearing about this guy.
He's not that great.
Is he not?
Watch him, Dan. He's not that great, honestly. If we're talking about DMs as well and someone playing deep, he's not that great. He hasn't got a pass on him of such.
Okay.
Granit Xhaka is more
Do you know what
technical
it is,
than
Egal? Do you know what it is with Xhaka, right?
One second. Bring it back to
Go on,
Xhaka. He's not 33, mate. He's like 28,
No,
right?
it's fine.
He's still young.
My
He's
mistake.
still young. He's younger than me, so I'll give him that. When it comes to the actual situation with Granit Xhaka, we will forever be critical of him, and it will take a lot for him to change a lot of people's opinions. But for me, his character and mentality as a player to overcome the amount of obstacles he's had at this club, a lot of players in his position are unable to do that. And you know what? We need more characters like him. As much as people hate Granit Xhaka, you don't want to hear this, but undeniable, his character and his resolve to stick by this club and to stick by the managers and everybody. And even though he's been getting abuse, racist abuse to his family, people wishing death on his children, like.
You know what doesn't help him though?
This is not normal, man.
What doesn't help him? What doesn't help him is that he speaks too much. I think if he was a lot more quiet, I think there wouldn't be so much attention on him. That's what brings so much traction. Like when you watch his Instagram posts and things like that, I think that's what winds the fans up. It winds them up. But as I said, like yes, as an Arsenal Football Club, you can always do upgrades. No matter who the players, you can always upgrade them. And I think his time will come where we will get upgrade, but I just don't think it's the main priorities. Like as I said, Xhaka is not the reason why this Arsenal team has not played with any cohesion over the season. There's a lot more factors to it. Xhaka, for me, if you can find a natural DM and you play a single pivot with Partey and a Xhaka ahead of them, I think it could work. It could work. But when you solely rely on him to cover spaces and things like that, you're asking for too much for him to do too much that he just can't do.
Okay.
Yeah, and
alluding to the point I wanted to make before, sorry, Harry, is just that, just as a neutral, what I've always looked at Arsenal and thought, again, he's just a scapegoat. He's just an excuse. Everything around him is wrong, right? So if you look at the 4-2-3-1 formation, we spoke about this before. That's why I wanted the girl to bring it up. Players in that position aren't that expansive, aren't usually amazing. They're just there to keep things ticking, or they just have to be solid. And guess what? If you have two solid central midfielders in Xhaka and Partey, but you sort out your centre-back partnership,
you're halfway
then
there.
all of a sudden, you forget about Xhaka giving the ball away, because when he gives the ball away, you don't concede a goal. And the defense actually... So when Paul Pogba used to give the ball away, it was Chris Smalling behind him, and Chris Smalling would panic, and we concede. These days, Paul Pogba gives the ball away, we nip that in the bud, we go, we forget about it. It's a team building thing. Like, sorry, go on, Harry.
That reminds me of the goal that we conceded against Leicester, where him and Willian, messed up a few passes. Tielemans gets the ball, and then he travels. Now, if Pablo Mari or Leno or our back line are alert,
Mari and El Neni had step across, they could have stopped it.
Exactly. It's not a goal, and the poor play from Xhaka is no longer analysed. So a lot of it is about that, and then that's not about building a team around Granit Xhaka. But what he's saying is, if we're going to keep Granit Xhaka because of all the other qualities we bring, then we need to find players who are going to complement Granit Xhaka. So that's not building a team around Xhaka in that statement, like Arsenal build a team around Granit Xhaka. It's about no, this is our central midfielder, so we need to find little players who are going to complement him. Just like next to Gabriel, we need a ball-playing centre-half. Just like next to Bellerin, we need a much better right centre-back to make it work, and all these things. And then you can suddenly start to carry these players who we believe are poorer. But when you don't have those players, then you become unstuck. And players like Bellerin and Granit Xhaka and David Luiz will sometimes be the victims because they're hung out to dry in that respect.
You know what I hear all the time, Harry? Granit Xhaka is a passenger. Is he a passenger, in your opinion? As a football fan, you watch him play. Even you, Danny, as a rival, you watch us play. Is Granit Xhaka ever a passenger within a game?
Look, there are moments, because he's not agile, he's not very athletic, where he gets exposed. Happens to Matic, who I think is 33, but he might be 31. But no, happens to Matic. So aesthetically, it sticks with you. It sticks with you because he's slow to turn, and then you see a player blow by him and is 10 yards clear in no time. And that hits you. It's almost like trauma. And that sticks with you. But the reality is, again, to Harry's point, you're supposed to build a team properly. If you already have Xhaka and replacing him is not a priority, how about you assess what is? You look behind him. Probably best if we have a quick ball-playing centre-back behind Xhaka, because he's not the quickest. When he gets bypassed, we need some speed behind him. Just basic shit.
And it's exactly why
Arsenal. You haven't been applying common sense to building a team. Whatever the formation is. I don't care what the formation is. You can reference what it's supposed to look like. Who are the players? What's the profile of player? What do you need? Do you have it? No? Go and get it.
I agree.
That's what who signs Nicolas Pepe when you know that season the reason why you didn't get top 4 is because you're defensively shit. But then we go out and spend 72 million on Nicolas Pepe. It's the proof's right there.
And everyone.
Okay, let me ask you guys a question. Why do people keep picking Granit Xhaka and Bellerin if they are so bad? Everyone in the world can see that Granit Xhaka and Bellerin are hurting the team apparently, but we still get picked. They still get picked.
There's a reason. They're two of the most longest serving senior players in the team. Since Xhaka has been there, we've not made Champions League. So of course those things sticks out in the mind, and you're thinking, okay, they've been there for so long and they keep letting us down. So why not just replace them and see how it goes? But at the same time, if you're going to replace them, you need to replace them correctly, because what you're going to find is going to add more dead wood. And we've been adding dead wood. We've been replacing players. And whenever we replace those players, we bring in dead wood to replace them. So it's an ongoing cycle that will never change until we assess and spend the money right. And when I say spend the money right, I'm not saying you have to spend lots of money. But when you break down factors like little things, when we could have signed Kante, but we didn't sign Kante because of agent fees, we're just being cheapskates. Just sign a quality player who's going to come here and do the job and not worry about the agent fees. At the end of the day, if the value is right and he comes in and he performs like Kante has done since he's gone to Chelsea, no one's going to complain about the money. But when you buy someone who's don't come in and do the job to a very good standards, you're always going to complain.
Okay, next question. And this is to everybody. Is Granit Xhaka somebody who we will miss if he was injured for the entirety of the season and we didn't replace him? 100%, right? Yeah, now, the next question that's a rhetorical question. The actual question is this here. Do we need to add another problem to our puzzle by saying to ourselves we need to replace him in the summer when we already need to get a midfielder to replace Odegaard? We need another midfielder to sit next to Partey or Xhaka whenever they're not available, like a Bissouma to upgrade, like a Sandberg that we can upgrade on a Xhaka and put Xhaka on the bench as an option. That to me would be a better solution than if we get rid of Xhaka and then we have to now bring in 3 midfielders in the summer.
Well, the key word has to be priority. What is the priority?
Priority is an attacking midfielder and a right back. And even if we cannot, if Lacazette and everyone else leaves, another striker. That is more priority.
But surely, Aubameyang
Centre back.
figuring out whether or not he's going to be able to contribute next season it is a priority. Arteta has to decide if he's going to persist with Lacazette, if this is a one-season wonder thing for him. Willian has the most assists for you guys in the Premier League, which is an absolute joke. How does Willian have the most assists in the Premier League?
That's when stats do lie. That's when the stats definitely lie.
Listen, no one thought Jordan Henderson could win Liverpool a title. The man won PFA Player of the Season. Let's be real. I'm not saying
but
going to be Jordan
that's
Henderson.
Liverpool media gas, as people keep saying.
No, I know, but it's a good point. Man United won league titles playing Darren Fletcher and Anderson in central midfield.
Well, cleverly, really. It was cleverly and...
Bro, look at Leicester's league title. They had that guy at Chelsea. What's his name? Whatever his name.
But Harry, to your point, do you want to know why we were able to do that? Well, obviously we still had experienced world-class defenders. That helps. World-class players. Vidic, Evra.
Around them.
But beyond that, they had simple jobs. Work hard. I don't know if you guys remember Anderson. He was fat. It can only last an hour.
Yeah.
Remember Man United fans abusing him? My God, if he was an Arsenal player, you had him for the last 5 years. Jesus Christ. Twitter would be a mess. But we were a 4-4-2 team and we had players for 4-4-2. The balance was perfect. That's why we got away with that. And of course, Sir Alex Ferguson can turn, water to wine. That helps as well.
Yeah, but like you say, a lot of it is about system, but then it's also about players just, in central midfield, win your tackles, win your duels, get the ball wide or get the ball forward as quickly as you can, let players do their job. Egal, the question is we definitely need to provide someone to challenge Granit Xhaka or by default replace Granit Xhaka. That's 100%. Granit Xhaka knows he's the first name on the team sheet. He's fit.
Can I say something?
And that's not where we need to be. That's where complacency speaks in for Granit Xhaka. We need to push him.
Why should we replace Granit Xhaka if we're going to have the likes of El Neni still in the team as a backup? Why can't Xhaka go into the El Neni role?
Yeah, that's
and
what
whoever comes in,
that's what we're saying.
We're talking about replacing
in the starting 11. That's all I'm saying, Ash.
Yeah, but it's not just about a starting 11 because we've seen this season that our starting 11 isn't good, but also our bench isn't good. So it wouldn't be a great idea to go and sell Granit Xhaka knowing that our bench is going to be weak. Xhaka can still offer something off the bench, really and truly.
Ask the people in the comments. Do you guys think Granit Xhaka off the bench would still be a good option for us? Because if you think that Granit Xhaka as a starter is not a good option, off the bench, surely he will offer us something. Do you not agree there? Anyways, that's a question for you guys. Finally, finally.
Sorry, Egal, very quickly. United are second, and our midfield duo all season has been McFred. Just let that
there you go. Exactly. But why though? Because you've got Fernandes at the top putting things together, and you've got Rashford scoring goals consistently, Cavani, Greenwood all chipping in. So
can I show you this again?
And I'm sure if you were 7th or 8th, Danny, Greenwood and Fred as they are, they'd be the ones under the most scrutiny. But it just shows you it's not.
Well, second and Fred gets it anyway from me in particular. So
listen.
Just pointing out, I don't think Xhaka's your biggest problem. That's all.
What's our area? Is it these two right here? Is it the midfield, or what do you guys say is the biggest problem? Because for me,
can I ask you guys a question as an Arsenal fan? Actually,
for me, this is not the problem.
Let me
ask you guys a question.
Right back, left back, goalkeeper.
Can I ask you guys a question? Don't you feel like you've been here before? I'm looking at that front line. Babies, 3 babies, 3 puppies. You've been here before. This is why Henry left. This is why Vieira left. Because I understand you don't have those problems. You don't have an Henry. You don't have a Vieira. But are you guys comfortable? If that's behind Lacazette, that's what's starting behind him next season. Are you guys happy with that?
No.
And I think that's only because of injuries now, though. It's going to be lined up like that. I think Odegaard's in there. I think Aubameyang's probably in there.
But Odegaard's not assigned. He's he's only on loan.
But he's going back. But should Aubameyang even be there with Martinelli?
No. He shouldn't be there.
No, if we're talking about Aubameyang, I'd play Aubameyang up front for the rest of the season. That's just a personal thing.
I said, someone tweeted this morning that Arsenal shouldn't be signing a striker because Balogun's now signed a contract. I said, are you mad? If that's what we're going into next, if that's what we're going into next season, then we've got no hope. How are you going to have Martinelli Balogun and Aubameyang as your only centre forwards going to lead the line.
Madman.
Balogun hasn't played any Premier League game. He's a baby. Martinelli hasn't made his transition into playing as a striker. You still need to replace Lacazette. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, just
Cams,
to go
in the
to that
comments,
comment.
let me know what the bigger issues are in the comments, please, Cams. What are the bigger issues?
Yeah, just to go to that Cams comment now, like, I'm just looking at the table, so just give me a second. But Man City have conceded 23 goals. We've conceded, where are we? We've conceded 35. So I think we're like maybe fourth or fifth. Actually, no, I think we're like joint fifth in conceded goals, okay? We've scored 50. So we've obviously scored, no, how many have we scored? We scored 43. We scored 9 less than Spurs, 10 less than Liverpool, 7 less than Chelsea, 8 less than West Ham, 14 less than Leicester, 20 less than Man City, Man United, all right? So, I mean, our problems are attacking. That's where our problems are. If Aubameyang, Lacazette, Saka, Pepe all scored goals consistently, we would not be in this position. We're not 10th because of defensive. Even defensively, that's not what we're not 10th. We are losing games because we've conceded, the odd goal here and there, but also because we've missed about 20 chances before that. Maybe not.
What do you guys think about this comment? Granit Xhaka is good for our bench. We need creators like Maddison, Grealish, or Houssem in our midfield, and the likes of Willian and El Neni are deadwood. Others need to go.
I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
Totally
And big up to you watching from Facebook. If you guys are watching on Facebook, do me a favor, come subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and you can find other content that is not on Facebook on the YouTube channel over here on EGTV. And people watching right now, there's about 50 plus of you guys. Do me a favor, smash a like on the video while we're still live.
Dan,
Cash, I can't hear you. Say it again.
Can I ask you something, Dan? I see a lot of people talking about Lingard and saying, yes, Arsenal should sign Lingard. And I'm thinking, Lingard's always been a good player. He's never not been a good player. But what you tend to find is when you're at a big club and you're playing against lesser teams and they're playing their low blocks, he's not got that profile of a player who's going to get on the ball, probe, and make openings. That's not his game. Why are you seeing him flourishing now at West Ham? He's got the freedom. Teams are allowing him space to go on exploit. And that's where he excels. So Lingard being at Man United or Arsenal, I don't think it's going to help those teams. What's your opinion on it?
For Arsenal, this is the problem with Lingard. One, he's not efficient. So all of those technical qualities you think he has or he appears to have is linked to his form and confidence. When he's not playing well, the only fundamental you see is good movement. Touch is off when his confidence is low. Passing isn't there. It's literally, he's one of those players. Those are not, the only fundamental aspect of his game that's elite is movement. And what I'd say as well is, again, that's why he's not good against a low block, because he's just not a good passer, to be honest with you. Beyond that, though, if you're playing 4-2-3-1, I wouldn't want Lingard as a 10 because, you're going to rely on Xhaka and Partey feeding him the ball. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Now, if you had somebody in the mold of a Xavi Alonso /Thiago /Michael Carrick, rather than Xhaka or Partey in there, that's a bit different. But I personally, if you have a technical midfield, fine. But if you don't, then you don't want Lingard. You don't want Lingard in a 4-2-3-1. If Arteta switches to a 3-4-3, and he's in that front line with a striker and a winger or something else, then that's fine. But I don't think he'd go to Arsenal anyway. But he's not what you need. You need technical players. You need technical players. You need Arsenal need players who are 25 years old to 28 years old. That's what you need in that.
That's our problem. I agree.
That's what you need.
Our technical ability has dropped. Arsenal used to be known as one of the most technical
club. I used to take the piss as a Londoner being a Man United fan, these ballerinas. That's what I used to call you guys. Because Arsenal players, you get it, they spin you, do a little pirouette, a black flip. That's what I used to mock Arsenal fans because your players were so light-footed. Now you're heavy-footed, you're heavy metal now. Maybe you need Klopp to be your manager. I don't know, because that's not the Arsenal that I grew up. You started off as a team that was physical. You had a balance between physicality and technique with Pires, Vieira, blah blah blah. Then you went pure technical, and now it's just nothing. There's not even balance. It's just nothing. Nothing at all.
Now we're lacking both, aren't we? We're lacking those physical leaders like Partey, and we're also lacking that technical quality. We had a plethora of options in Rosicky and Nasri and Arshavin, all these little technical midfielders that could just replace one another off the bench, and there was always so many options in that midfield area. I I just lost count of the amount of times you just see Rosicky come on and do something, you know, that another creative player couldn't do. And now we just don't have those options. And we certainly need a few of those players, not a lot of them, because then you become, like you say, unbalanced. I don't think the Jesse Lingard rumours have any weight. I think that's all they are. I can't see Man United sending him to us anyway, because
that is why I'm going to come back to Cam's comment when he said it's not the forward line, because it is the forward line. And I said it, since Aubameyang's been in, yes, he's been scoring goals, he's been playing off the left, but it doesn't suit or fit the rest of the team, because when it comes to building up and playing intricate interchanges, it messes up at him. It's like when you watch Dele Alli at Tottenham. How many times Dele Alli used to get on the end of chances, but when it comes to building up play, it always falls apart. And that's where we struggle.
Those sort of players are almost like luxury players, aren't they? Like, they don't get involved enough in the play, so you either rely on them to score a goal or do something, and otherwise they become a little bit void. But like about Cam's was just asking, you know, how many chances have we created? I know we're not high up on that list. I do think that's because of the first 10 or games in the season when we just didn't play with a number 10.
You're bantering, right?
I'd like to think
Man said he would rather take Lingard over Odegaard.
Like Dan said, it depends on your style of play. It depends what you're doing. If you're playing such an intricate style of play where Xhaka drops deep to get the ball to kick a party, and then the end of that move is to give it to Lingard, I don't know if it works.
It only works. Listen, I said something crazy. I said, would you guys take Dele Alli? And everyone said to me, "You're absolutely mental." And you know what? At that time, when I asked, this was when Pochettino was just about to leave and he was just getting sacked. So now, when we're saying we were going to take Lingard, that's ridiculous.
Harry, very quickly, because I just looked it up for you. So Sheffield United have created 32 big chances in the Premier League this season. Guess where Arsenal are?
I'm like second, I swear. Second to last, I swear.
You're just behind. You're just ahead of them in 12th with 35 big chances created.
Oh yeah, totally. But that's because the first 10 games, honestly, we did not do anything.
But wait, Harry, take this with a pinch of salt, and it just might indicate where Leicester are going to end up this season. Leicester are only 3 ahead of you with 38.
So wow.
Man City.
So people need to know there's a big hole in the big chances created metric. Literally, if you score a half chance, it literally gets measured as a big chance created and scored. So like, if you're a better team, you make half chances look like great chances.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to think since December we're much higher up that list. I'd be surprised if we're not. Since we've had that formation change.
United was second in that list in January towards Feb, but now we're like 5th or 6th or something like that. I didn't even look where we were. But yeah, now. Oh, we're third again. But like, we haven't been creating much in the last month. But yeah, I think it's clear. Like, I need to go. I'm just gonna say, Xhaka is not your biggest problem. Like, if you had a good defense and better creative players, you wouldn't even be bothered about Xhaka. Honestly, you wouldn't even notice him.
Guys,
let things tick along, and that's that.
Big up to everybody watching. Kesh, thanks for coming along. Big up to you, Harry, for coming on too. Appreciate everybody watching. Guys, don't go anywhere. There's a link in the video to the next video. I'm going to be doing it immediately after this. So go there right now. I'm going to just end this video and then I'm going to go there. Do me a favor. Set your request for that. Set your likes. I'm about to go live. I'm not going to go live at 4:15. I'm going to go live immediately after this. So you guys have yourself a wonderful day. Harry, you guys can see his link right there. Danny, you guys can see his link right there to his Twitter. And Kesh, he doesn't have his @ but it's _Kesh_. And you guys already know where to catch me on EGTV and at the Kitty G on Twitter. Everyone on the Arsenal Inside Out Facebook page, thank you for staying along with us the whole time. Appreciate you guys. As you guys can see, there's some people in the comments right now from the Facebook page. And Matt, you madman, have a good night. Peace.